everyone, this is Ed Amoroso, and I'm sitting here with my friend Rahul Kashyap, who is the GM and VP of Cybersecurity at Arista Networks. Rahul, thanks for making some time today.
Likewise, Ed, pleasure to be with you.
Rahul, in this series of videos, we're talking about this wonderful capability, network security at Arista. My favorite topic, so as an analyst, I'm not supposed to pick favorites, but I can't help it. I love network security. But the Awake team and the Arista team came together. Maybe you can share a little bit about that transaction. And then we want to kind of dig into a little bit about the platform, a little bit about how you guys are positioned, and maybe giving us some feeling for what you got, what we should expect to see in the coming years. So this will be a good opportunity for you to brag about your company a little bit.
Sure, absolutely, Ed. Yeah, so October 2020, Arista Networks and Awake Security joined hands together. It's actually a fascinating story. At Awake, we were in a pretty good place, not even thinking about selling the company. I had just, in fact, raised my Series C round just a few months ago, with some of the top-notch investors, well-known board members, and so on. But I think when Arista Networks came to us, it was a pretty interesting synergy and story, which was kind of one of its kind, when you get to see in your life, which is very rare. Because Arista, as you know, is a pioneer in networking. It's the second largest company after Cisco when it comes to networking gear. They are well known for their quality and the high performance networking gear. And they do not have any cybersecurity practice before this. They do have the networking cybersecurity capabilities built into their switches and routers and so on, but they were not really focused in cybersecurity. So we kind of saw this as a great opportunity, not only just to expand our reach from a network detection response technology point of view, but also build a cybersecurity practice in a large company such as Arista, because as you know, cybersecurity is getting so mainstream. It is no longer about just having cybersecurity vendors. It's about who has the best leverage, who has the best vantage point, and being on the core of the network is probably the best place you can to start off a cybersecurity operation. So after talking to the CEO, Rahul, who's well known in the industry as well, we decided to go ahead with the deal, and it's been over a year now, and it's been a fascinating ride. Even though Arista seems like a really big corporate and a large company, it still operates like a startup. So for us, coming from the startup world, it was a breath of fresh air, and we are thoroughly enjoying the experience. And we have a lot of things we have actually been busy integrating and working on as well. For example, we just announced a partnership with Big Switch Networks, which was acquired by Arista just before Awake. So we are doing a partnership and an tight integration for data centers. So now we have a very specialized cybersecurity capabilities for data centers, for really high-end data centers. And this is the only of its kind in the industry where we can scale more than hundreds of gigs and analyze throughput at that scale. Then we are about to announce what is called as AVA sensors, which is Awake sensors on the switch of Arista campus deployments, which will give our customers the capability of having inbuilt security in the switches as well. This is the first of its kind, and we are very excited about this capability as well. So yeah, so I think we've been busy the last year plus, still working with startup spree and have grown in size as well. Arista has been investing in the team and growing and retaining the top talent. So we continue to innovate, and it couldn't be better times for the Awake team. I'm very proud of what we have achieved in the last year.
Well, I'm so glad that you guys became part of the company. My observation, and please tell me if I'm right here, is that network security is pretty hard. And when you're part of a larger team, I think it's the scale and the capital structure lend better toward making investments in innovation. Because I think that what you do for a living maybe changes as much as anything. Look how much change we've seen in the way people use networks just in the last 10 years. These SASE architectures and things that people are shifting to. So have you found the kind of the environment in a larger company more conducive to perhaps making investments? Because that small companies, it's hard to make long-term investments. Larger companies have the capital to do that. Have you found that in the new firm?
Absolutely, and that's probably the most exciting thing. We kind of operate like a startup, but at the same time have the power of a bigger company behind us. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. So we have more than doubled the team, R&D team worldwide. Now we have 24/7 operations worldwide as well. As a small startup, we did not have any of that leverage. And not to forget, we have, it's been a pretty tough supply chain issue challenges for a lot of companies in the space as well. But being in Arista, we have also navigated that very effectively. So yeah, so definitely there's a lot of goodness there, depending upon how you execute on an integration like this. And I can't be more proud and happier on what we have achieved in the last year.
All right, let's have some fun, you and me. Let's
Okay.
take out the crystal ball, and now let's try and figure out. I'm going to let you start. What do you think's coming? Like, what in the next few years? What are some of the advances that we might see, and say in wireless and wireline and architecture and threat? When I'm sure you get asked this, like reporters, that's always their favorite question. People like you, but what? Take out the crystal ball. What do you see coming in the next few years?
So in terms of threats or
Oh,
technologies,
your
or
pick. You can either be in the mood to talk about depressing things like threats or exciting things like new technology. Whatever comes to mind, that's part of the fun
yeah,
here. What comes to
yeah. No,
mind?
I would say, uh, the from an attacker's point of view, I do see people now targeting users' identities more and more. AI is available not just to the defenders, but also the attackers. So I do see a next wave which will be far more dangerous and potent in terms of like for example, I'm already seeing the whole fake video things which is coming in the market, and it came in a big way during the election time in America. I'm sure this is happening in other places as well. So I would say, the identity and people will be more targeted than ever before. It could be from the network, it could be through over the phone. There will be different attack vectors for sure, and it will be very tough to safeguard and trust what's really going on. So I think the other big challenge is, kind of where we are going as more and more people adopt the internet and understand the power of internet is I think the biggest challenge will be how do you trust people? How do you trust the other entity? How do you make sure that it's a verified person you're talking to on the other side of the world, right? Sitting on the internet. So I think that's why people are talking a lot about zero trust, because fundamentally when networks were designed, they were designed with an implicit trust model. Because the whole concept of networking was to collaborate and to talk and to communicate with people. But now with cybersecurity challenges, implicit trust just would not work. You need an explicit trust model. That's why I know you will hear a lot of zero trust as a buzzword in the industry. I'm sure you have heard a lot about it as well. So I think that will be more and more relevant because now people are building out networking and thinking of networks as they're building out their next generation of networks and so on. And they want to really solve this problem ground up. And how do you establish and build a more a much more favorable trust network, which is first of all viable, implementable, practical, and at the same time adds a layer of security without it without security being an afterthought, right? And this has always been the problem in cybersecurity. Security has always been an afterthought. First you have emails, then you have email security, you have cloud security coming later. So I think now we really have an opportunity to build out something in the future where you can think of security as something as like table stakes. You need to have this to build any form of networking, and I think that is going to be a big challenge for the industry. But at the same time, I believe with the innovations on the CPU and the capacity to compute, I think a lot of this is possible now, and it wasn't so earlier, even 5 years ago or so.
Do you worry about encryption, like end-to-end encryption, making it more difficult to do to collect telemetry? Is it blinding out some aspects of network security for tools?
Yes, definitely. I mean, there's nothing better than looking at plain text traffic, which is decrypted, but I think encryption is here. It's here to stay. People are, people respect privacy. They expect to have privacy inbuilt into protocols and networks. So I would say this is just the new world of doing cybersecurity. You have to be equipped. You have to plan and prepare when you build a technology, when you're building a startup or a company. You just have to accept this is how it's going to be, and there'll be more and more encryption. The challenge is how can you build a technology which is kind of going in the opposite direction. If you see, a lot of vendors are still doing TLS decryption and so on. It doesn't scale, first of all. It's clunky, and at the same time, it breaks the entire privacy where there's a major push towards, right? So I believe that the future cybersecurity has to adapt encryption and be smart about encryption without breaking it. So encryption and cybersecurity and these operations cannot be run in siloed. It should be all part and parcel of the same package.
Do you see DDoS as being a problem that's here to stay, or do you see some changes in the way volume attacks occur?
Yes, I think DDoS at one point used to really cripple infrastructure, but I think now it is in many cases it's a nuisance. In some cases, when it goes really big and voluminous, it can be a big problem also. But I think with the elastic capabilities of several DDoS vendors and the innovations on the cloud, the elasticity of the cloud, many of those DDoS attacks can be mitigated. But at the same time, not to forget, there are also very large capacity DDoS attacks which are possible today, which wasn't possible earlier as well. So I would say DDoS will continue because it will continue to. I would say it's more of a speed bump in operations. And I don't see it really going away in the near future.
I always worry that we've never really seen an attacker turn the spigot on full for DDoS, meaning an intense attack that doesn't stop. It seems like they always go and they stop. That's been my experience trying to deal with this for 20
True.
years. So I worry about
Yeah.
I always worry when something seems to sort of, to your point, I agree 100% with your characterization. For most teams, it's a nuisance, but I think that's probably a good characterization of network security when it's done right. You get to the point where we've done the controls in a way that allows people to use their network and it's not crippling. It allows them to innovate, use the thing. Is that a reasonable definition of maybe our goal, just to make security more a nuisance than a crippling problem? Maybe that's the best we can hope for.
Yeah, and to be honest, nobody really wants all of this. Nobody wants. I mean, security comes too much in people's ways nowadays, right? So I see, average laptops have like what 12 agents, 8 agents looking for monitoring for all kinds of things, right? So in some sense, I think the rationalization has to come in play. How do you make security behind the scenes? It should not be, at your face and coming in your way, right? So I think that should be always the focus. And that if you really build that architecture and you think as you're building your next cybersecurity venture or company or product, if you have that as a fundamental, foundation, then you are much better off because you are really solving a big problem for people in a meaningful manner.
Well, Rahul, it's always a delight chatting with you. Keep up the great work and congratulations on such a wonderful transaction for your company. And we'll check in with you again and see what we have. We'll see if our predictions come true in a couple of years.
Okay. Thank you, Ed. Yeah.
Very nice to connect up. And thanks everyone for watching.